Discuss this is Michael McCann, legal analyst for Sports Illustrated and law professor at UNA. So great to have you with us. So Michael, in brief, what is the WNBA policy surrounding domestic assault allegations?
Well, Ryan, there is no policy, and that's a glaring issue for the WNBA now and going forward. There is a personal conduct policy contained in the collective bargaining agreement, and it's a generic personal conduct policy that we've seen in other leagues that requires good citizenship and adherence to the law, but there's no specific domestic violence policy like found in the NBA. So that creates a bit of a disparity where in the NBA, when a player is accused of domestic violence, he can be placed on administrative leave, meaning he's separated from the team and still paid, whereas in the WNBA, there's only a suspension or a fine, and in the case of Howard, that hasn't been used.
And you know, Michael, I think when you hear there's no domestic violence policy in the Me Too movement with everything going on today surrounding a pro sports league, I think the question everybody wonders is why?
It's a great question, Ryan, and it's surprising, particularly given the association between the WNBA and the NBA, where the NBA has crafted this really carefully designed policy with the Players Association. You would think that the WNBA and its Players Association would do the same or come up with something similar, and it hasn't happened. And part of it could reflect the fact that there's been some bargaining issues between the WNBA and the Players Association. The Players Association opted out of the CBA. That goes into effect at the end of the season. So perhaps they're punting on it until future collective bargaining, but by doing that, they now have a situation where they really need that policy already in place.
So you got a situation with somebody like Howard. She's playing right now. You've mentioned that this is a bit of a difficult situation with them. So what are their options when you've got a player like Howard? You're hearing these accusations, but we make the point right now, no charges have been filed or anything like that at this point. These are allegations right now.
Yeah, Ryan, I think that's a crucial point. In Howard's defense, just for a moment, there's no criminal charge. There's no sworn testimony. These are accusations made in the public where they're not made under oath. I think for the WNBA and the Storm, they may want to wait a bit until there's some type of corroboration of the accusation that to immediately punish her now could, in theory, prejudice her in the legal system if the team's already saying you did it when they don't know if that's the case. Still, though, if there was a domestic violence policy in place, she could be placed on leave while the league gathers facts.
Wow, it really is almost like flying without a net in terms of a domestic violence policy, not having one. There's another case going on in the WNBA. Raquana Williams, Los Angeles Sparks, she's got 2 felony charges against her stemming from an assault of her ex-girlfriend. Now, I've seen you mention before that they might have a legal right to suspend her, but she is another one who is still playing. What are some of the issues with that?
Yeah, it's incredible on some level that this is a player charged with 2 felonies, one of which could be in theory a life sentence. And she not only, after being charged, she continues to play, but she was re-signed by her team in spite of these charges. Now, she has pleaded not guilty. She's accused of burglarizing the residence of her ex-girlfriend and then beating her up with her fist, grabbing her hair out. I mean, really very troubling accusations, and she continues to play. And like you mentioned, Ryan, neither the league nor the team has to do anything, but you would think if this were an NBA player that there would be some kind of action, that this wouldn't be tolerated, and yet in the WNBA, it happens.
Okay, you know, you have to see what happens in the next, the upcoming CBA, as you mentioned. We'll have to see how this plays out. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.